Hello and welcome back to the WhiskAYE Podcast. I'm not sure if we're giving this one a number or if we're going to call it Special Edition Number 1 because this relates to the first ever Dram Team Special Shiny Box, which was a special Rye January edition with a nice pun there. And as such, we will probably name this something punny like Rye January, Rye Visited, I assume.
Stand on the giants and all that.
Yeah, so this box, we've already tasted the first 5 whiskies on stream with Vin and Chris, and it was a great time had on the stream. We made many rye puns, as
entirely rye puns.
Yeah, the only comment we made, which wasn't a rye pun, in fact, was hello. So
yeah,
that was a fun time.
I'm still bitter about my my rye ground pun not going down too well.
Yeah, plus a reference.
It was I thought it was really good. Don't take me on. I have the rye ground. Well, I'm sure his fans will love that.
Yeah. If you want to see all of our comments, they're probably under the YouTube video for the Shiny Edition Number 1 Rye January tasting video on the Dram Team's YouTube channel. So
yes, good point.
There you go. So I guess we can get straight into it. It'll be a bit of a different format, not different, but it'll be similar to the last time we drank whiskies on stream and then reviewed. But this time we've kept the 6 dram so that we can review it live as such, because we felt
for our fans
that was a better way to do it.
Exactly.
So the title card for this box says, "This box is our inaugural Shiny Edition and pun-based tribute to one of our favourite whiskey styles, rye. Rye is on the rise globally, but still relatively unknown here in the UK. To help write that wrong, there's a pun in the card. We've curated this special selection of 6 exceptional small batch artisanal rye whiskies from around the world. Hooray for January. Cheers."
You can see why we went into the rye puns quite heavily.
Yeah. And
encouraged.
It's good that Chris is on the right page about puns are good. If you disagree, don't unsubscribe, but you probably aren't going to enjoy the next time. Yeah, leave a comment. Get that engagement up.
Yeah, encourage your friends to come and watch and leave their comments shouting at us for using puns as well.
Abuse is welcome because engagement.
Yeah. It's what they like on the YouTube. We understand it.
Apparently.
Should I introduce us to our first one then?
Yes.
Of the evening. So, and the fancy gold embedded cards. They are very nice, these cards.
Yes. They have a speckle which glimmers in the light.
Yeah. Very impressive. So this is the East London Liquor Co. London Rye. And the card reads, "East London Liquor Company's ultra-sleek premises in Bow Wharf, London, house a deceptively geeky and passionate team of whiskey makers. This is their 3rd annual rye release, with each year following a unique recipe in vintage format. This year, it's a vatting of whiskies made from 42% malted rye and 58% malted barley. This spirit was aged in a quirky variety of casks, including virgin French oak, virgin chestnut, STR, which is shaved, toasted, recharred, sherry, and ex-bourbon casks. Just 1,200 bottles were made, so enjoy it while it lasts." And we shall.
Yes, that was an interesting selection of casks, to be fair.
Yeah, I can't think of many more casks he could have used, really.
Just actually like become like a full circle, start using Scotch whiskey casks.
Yeah, they just went for the shotgun approach and was like,
yeah,
chuck everything at it. Why not?
Yeah.
So there isn't a nose on this.
So
let's see what we can get from it. Bearing in mind we only have half, probably less.
And it has been opened, so some of the vapors may have escaped.
It's quite sweetly spicy.
That's definitely sort of not necessarily cinnamony, but what I imagine it's like when you do the cinnamon challenge and it all comes out your nose when you talk.
Yeah, Yeah, that's a good comment to record. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah, very sweet spice on the nose. I'll let you dive in for the first taste, and I'll tell you what you should be getting. Smoke from the peat fire envelops. Fresh citrus fruit, vanilla, and light spice drift from the embers with hints of sea salt and smouldering heather. And the finish, should be salted caramel, a wisp of smoke, and burnt oak. I swear I haven't been drinking before this. I just can't read. Northern education.
don't know that there's any smoke for me.
Maybe very, very, very light. It's quite spicy.
Yeah, I would say overridingly this is spicy. But
I can kind of get like, I don't think I'd have picked out peat if I hadn't been forewarned. But because I was looking out for the flavors, I could get it.
Is it not more that it's not even peat? It's like a.
It's like the medicinal.
But is it not a toasted and recharred cask that's giving that flavor?
Well, it says smoke from the peat fire, so maybe they peated some of the barley.
Possible.
Because it is made from 58% malted barley, so they could have peated some of that.
Could be done.
Yeah, it's spicy, kind of bourbony sweet.
Yeah, it's like sweet and spicy. It's what I have come to learn. Rye should taste like, more or less.
I'm not sure I'm getting any salted caramel. I'm not getting like they've got sea salt and salted caramel. I'm not getting those kind of savoury flavours.
I can get a little bit of the saltiness, but it fades very quickly to spice. It's like when you hold it in your mouth, you get some of the salt coming through.
I mean, that's nice.
It's
like
savoury,
that.
But yeah, it's very nice.
I like that, but it's spice and sweet, and those are like that's it.
Yeah.
But it's smooth despite being spicy because it's like 47%, 47.2. That's as smooth as like if you're having a 40% bourbon or whatever. That goes down easy.
Yeah, it's nice. It's dry on the tongue, obviously, because that's one of the characteristics of rye. Is the spiciness makes it less sweet. So
yeah, but I think like alcohol spice is easy.
Yeah.
And that's not alcohol spice. That's like intentional from the rye spice.
Yeah.
Okay. So what comments are we going to record for this one then?
I mean, I've recorded that it smells like when you fail the cinnamon challenge, but
okay, yeah.
I'd say the spiciness makes it difficult to pick up other notes.
Yes, I think that's fair. Maybe you could put, like for my comment, you could maybe put very, very slight hint of peat, and for yours, you could put slight hint of salt.
Yeah.
Because we both picked out those individual bits. And then if we score it, and then as you're on the scores today, you tell us, we'll do the comparison. We'll do it as we go through what we're scoring it this time compared to what we scored it when we had it the first time.
Yeah.
Prove our consistency.
Yeah, that's not going to happen, but we'll see. Again, I believe that when we first did these when we were on the podcast, not on the podcast, on the stream, our discussion essentially circled around it's hard to do the score when you're not really sure how good, like what rye is.
Yeah,
I think this was our first real rye experience, right? So, but I think now that we've been through them all and came back, I'd be happy to give that probably a 3.5.
I was thinking 3.5. Depending on how the next ones go, I could bump that up to a 4, but I think...
Yeah, it's a high 3.5. But...
Yeah. Okay, so what did we give it last time?
We both gave it 3.5.
Hey!
Which means that we both liked it, but we also are like, don't know, can't go too high. Might not be that great, might get blown away.
Yeah, I always think it's like our average scores are between 2.5 and 3.5. So a 3 is like middle of the road, get it in the supermarket, and you've done well.
Yeah.
Whiskey. 3.5 is like, this is actually pretty good. could maybe go up to a 4, but we don't want to open with a 4. And 2.5 is like, it's drinkable, but it's not the best.
Yeah, I wouldn't I wouldn't go out of my way to order it if I saw it, but if someone gave me it, I wouldn't spit in their face.
Yeah, like I could quite happily, if that was like on a whiskey bar or whatever, I'd happily order one of them.
By spit in their face, I mean spit it out. I didn't mean actually talk up a loogie and
just drink it, drink it all, and just be like, I hated that, and spit in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
I just wanted to. I just realised after I said it sounds like I'm the kind of person who, when you give me a drink I don't like, I just look at it and go.
Like, you don't even drink it. You're just like, yeah, I can tell what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd have a fun time in Islay.
Like, oh, it's okay. It's a punk gig. Don't worry about it. It's normal.
Man, you'll like it though. Imagine how it's going to be for me if we go there and we go. If there's like a tasting room and they've got all the whiskies out and it just stinks of peat.
I'll be able to handle it. You'll probably be like, no, just let me out.
Yeah, just put a peg on my nose.
I'm actually the driver, is what you'll say.
Yeah. Oh, I left my iron on. That should work, shouldn't it?
Yeah, that's the usual excuse.
Yeah. I wonder if they've got like a ball pit or something for people who don't like peat.
Probably for children.
Yeah.
But I mean, apparently this one tastes like peat, and you drank it and you enjoyed it. So.
Yeah, I'm not too bad. I'm not too bad with peat, really. Yeah. It's just the peat monsters. That's.
Yeah, when it's all peat, it is a bit of a thing. But we just don't like one-note whiskies unless it's sherry. So anyway, I feel like we should move on because
moving on.
We're supposed to be more professional these days.
What is our next whiskey then?
Our next whiskey comes from the WhiskAYE Rye Company, which I believe is the same overall company as the WhiskAYE Whiskey Company.
Yeah, White and Mackay are one of them.
Well, I think they're like a subsidiary.
Subsidiary. Yeah, I think it's like White and Mackay. They're like the big brand, like a Douglas Lang, and then you get Douglas Langs with the old particular brand or whatever. I think Boutique is a spring off of like experimental whiskies, and then they've obviously got now a spin off that's experimental rye whiskies.
That's interesting. I mean, we found out that this bottle, I believe, has pictures of maybe their founders and a whole backlog from their history about, what do I need to start a whiskey company, and then it's a bunch of people who have jobs nothing to do with whiskey on the list. But anyway, this is a Peerless, aged 3 years, batch 1. And it says, Peerless whiskey, as a brand, dates back to the late 1800s as a well-known Kentucky-based distillery that then struggled to bounce back from Prohibition and World War I. Unfortunately, when owner Henry Craver passed away in 1938, the brand was lost to history. That is, until his great and great-great-grandson revived the name in 2014, even keeping the same distillery plant number in Henderson, Kentucky. This rye is a release of just 369 bottles, aged for 3 years. So, it's not super common. I think that it was those three men mentioned, the great and great grandson and the Henry Craver that are on the bottle, not Boutique's people. But yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Sorry, I'm just trying to look up if Boutique is White Mackay. I'm just completely lying. I know it's one of them.
Okay. Well, I'll go and tell you what you're supposed to be smelling, and you can.
Yes, sorry, I will go. I've got my whiskey poured. What am I meant to be smelling?
You're meant to be smelling fresh peach and creamy apricots, a little cinnamon, buttered popcorn, and maple. So, sweet.
Yeah, I can get buttered popcorn.
I could maybe get buttered popcorn. Not sure about. But it's kind of a peachy. It's like more like peach, like a peach yogurt. If that makes sense, like a peach milkshake, maybe.
Yeah, I see what you.
Like
it's
not
that
sharp.
flatter smell.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that. How about that? You say it's not sharp, and I say it's flatter at the same time.
Yeah. That's what I was essentially getting at. Is it has that kind of the flavors are there, but they're not piercing like the acidity of fruit usually is. So flatter. Yeah. Do you want to go in for a taste?
Yes. Sorry, I can't see that they are from White Mackay, so I might just be making that up. Just to put it straight.
Just to clarify. Yeah. Okay. On the palate, it should be clean and crisp, stone fruits, savoury vanilla, buttered cinnamon rolls with a finish that is like buttered rye bread and a hint of caraway. Wonder why it's rye bread.
Yeah, that's really nice. That's like it's got that kind of vanilla-y flavours to it, especially at the back end, like at the finish. Quite a lot of vanilla coming through now, even now. It's clean and crisp, and there's a little bit of spice on your tongue.
What is caraway?
I don't know. I've heard of caraway seeds. I'll have a look.
But yeah, it is that vanilla-ness in it. Kind of creamy.
Yeah, creamy.
I don't know
yeah.
The stone fruits, maybe not so much, but maybe I'll get it if I hold it in my mouth a bit longer. That's what she said. Sorry, Mum.
So it's a native herb/spice from North Africa.
Oh, that's so. It is that? That's the spice that I don't know what that tastes of, so I would just say it's spicy. But
it's spicier than cumin, apparently. Akin to licorice, more nutty and earthy.
All right, so probably like in between, probably something like a nutmeggy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I can understand that.
That's a little bit sweeter than the previous one because it's not as spicy, so you can get more time for things to develop.
This one has. Can't remember if it's this one that has slightly less. Right, no, it's American, so it'll be 51% at least.
It's got to be at least 51, yeah.
Yeah. Can't remember where I was looking. One of them has quite a lot of something else in it. I think it's less.
I think out of these ones, the East London Liquor Co. is the one that's got the least.
Yeah.
Because I think the two of the ones that we've got coming up are American. The one of them is 100%, and then another one's American. So I think it's East London is the least. I don't know if that's less spicy or if it's just creamier and it tamps down the spice.
I think it is just creamier.
It's a lot smoother than the last one.
Yeah.
And I like the vanilla flavors. I like the kind. It's still warming me up right now.
I'm getting some fruit when I held it. It was similar to maybe like a peachy ice cream or something like that. So
like a flat.
I wouldn't say peach. It was that in that genre of fruit though. Maybe a little bit strawberry.
Well, it says stone fruit, doesn't it?
Yeah, but strawberry's not stone fruit. But yeah,
Peaches.
Less sharp fruits in general, and then milkshakey version of them. Like not a raspberry or a bramble, but
a gooseberry, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was really nice.
Yes, I enjoyed that a lot. What sort of scores do you think?
If that last one was 3.5, that's got to be a 4.
Yeah, I would probably agree on that tasting.
I would say.
So let's see what we had last time. Remember how spreadsheets work. You gave it a 4 and I gave it a 3.5, so I've upgraded it this time. But I would agree with your scoring. I think I was still hesitant last time.
Doing pretty good, pretty consistent. That's not too bad at all, really.
Oh, I believe it's time for another Josh's Journeys.
Let's whisk you away on Josh's Journeys.
It's a bit of a trip for this one, isn't it? An unusual place to go.
It is. Thank you for that introduction. It's very kind. And as with all of Josh's Journeys, I think the standing disclaimer is sorry if I pronounce everything wrong. I have an accent.
Just Scotland.
Yeah, even if it's England. I have an accent and it doesn't change. So you'll have to just live with it. So we're off to Finland, which is a pretty unusual place to go for whiskey.
Yep.
Although in a way the climate kind of works. It's cold, but that helps with aging. So this is off to the Cairo distillery, spelled Kyro, which has got a bit of an unusual story, even for a more modern distillery, which all tend to be a little unusual, as this one was founded when 5 mates were in the sauna together, as you do in Finland, drinking rye whiskey. And then one of them, or more than one of them, someone questioned, how come Finland doesn't have any rye whiskey? And that's how it started. They decided, you know what, we can make it. We'll be the first Finnish rye whiskey, and they are.
That's fair enough.
Yeah. So they started looking for a place to set up a distillery, and they settled on a small village called Iso-Cairo. Again, I'll be pronouncing that wrong, but Iso-Kyro, which I assume is where the name of the distillery comes from. And they were looking at an old farm, but it wasn't quite what they were after. And then as you were driving back, they come across an old dairy that was abandoned. Well, it was being used to store cars. The village was using it to store cars to give it a reason to exist still. And they settled on that, on the old dairy. And so they
probably gave a bunch of people in the village a job, to be fair.
Yeah. So they bought the dairy, and then as they were setting up, it was all very kind of bespoke, almost not I don't want to say amateur because that has negative connotations, but small scale.
Artisanal.
Artisanal. I like that. Yes. So the first fermentation was done in one of the 5 founders' parents' house when they were on vacation. And at the time, there was only one set of pot stills in Finland at Finland's first ever craft distillery in a place called Beer Hunters, Pori, Pori. So they asked them if they could do their distillation in their pot stills, and they said yes, crazily enough.
Fair enough.
So long as they would provide the transport there and back for the liquid, they would do it. So they did it, and they got their new make. And then they were kind of a bit unsure where to go from there. So they took a bunch of the new make to the London Whisky Show. And one of them was decanting it in the men's bathroom and then handing it out to people at the show. And they were getting good feedback. And so, it was all looking positive, cracking on. And in 2014, they fired up their stills for the first time. And they started to serve at a pop-up bar in Helsinki. This was a new make still, obviously. They'd not yet aged it sufficiently. So they did what everyone does when they start a whiskey distillery and their whiskey is now in barrels and they can't touch it for 3 years. They made gin. And so they didn't know, what they were doing with making gin. They had a good idea, but weren't really sure. But then someone gave them a call from one of the spirits governing bodies, I guess you want to call it, and said, yeah, we're about to announce that this has won the Gold Award. You might want to start your production up a bit more. So they did, and they still sold out in 2 days.
Wow.
So they've been pretty successful the whole way through. And now, obviously, their single malt is out there. They have a gin. They have something called a dark gin. And at the moment, whether it'll change, but at the moment, all of their spirits use 100% Finnish rye, even though it's rye is apparently the worst grain to work with. It's quite temperamental, apparently. And I guess that's why most whiskies made with barley. It's quite easy. But yeah,
corn.
So yes, yeah, indeed. So out of all the whiskies here today, I think this is the only one that's 100% rye.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then just to kind of show, how flexible they are and how flexible the whiskey business has had to be as a whole. In 2020, they ended up selling more hand sanitizer than they did gin. They switched over to that production to keep the staff, and they managed to not have to lay anyone off. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so they didn't have to lay anyone off, and hopefully they're going to go strength to strength because
hopefully they're going to go back to making whiskey.
Well, I think the good thing with whiskey is like 1 year of production, you don't feel it for a couple more years.
Yeah, you can catch up.
Yeah. But yes, indeed. because the world needs more unique, different distilleries.
Yes.
And those guys definitely tick this box. So,
do you think at the start they didn't realise that they were allowed to maybe mix it with spirits from other grains, and they
I don't know. Maybe they
go
did.
far
Yeah.
of actually making 100% rye, and we're like, you know what, it's winning us awards. Let's just keep going.
Like if we started up a distillery and we were like 100% barley, and then someone's like, you can use grain, and you'd be all right.
Yeah.
And you're like, what?
I'm like, no, that's called blends. We're a single.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, maybe.
Whilst then enjoying blends and Irish whiskey a whole lot, and being like, oh, actually, maybe
quite like sour mashes as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're living the dream of anyone who loves whiskey. Really, set up a distillery and crack on and get your success. So, fair play to them and best of luck. Certainly one for if you're interested in more unusual styles of whiskey. It's the only Finnish rye whiskey. It's made with 100% rye, which is unusual. What more could you ask for, really?
Yeah.
And to seamlessly segue from that, as you've probably predicted, our next whiskey is the Cairo malt.
Yes.
And I am aware that the O has the 2 dots over it, so it's probably not pronounced O. But I don't know how you pronounce Finnish, so it's Cairo.
But I don't know how it's pronounced in Finnish. So yeah.
I feel like it's less insulting for me to just say it as if it was English than to try and put on an accent and fail. So
it's probably like a rolled R into.
I can't do roll R's, so
Yeah, that's why I was saying it.
Yeah. Sorry to any Finnish viewers. If you can educate us on how you say it, more than happy to learn. So
yeah, leave a comment below.
Yeah, just in English, please. So on the card, making rye can be a tricky business as it's tough to distill in high volumes and yields less spirit than barley or corn. So to find a 100% rye is rare, and rarer still, a Finnish one, completely unique. After tantalizing rye fans with a series of impossible to get small batch releases, Cairo found a way to ramp up production and meet the demand with his car bottling of their unique whiskey. Cairo use only spicy and intense Finnish rye, malted and double pot distilled before being aged in new American white oak barrels. Cheers, or kippis, as they say in Finland. So, while I pour mine out, I'll tell you what you should be smelling. It should be aromatic with vanilla, caramel, dried fruits, and earthy rye.
This is a lot earthier. It's the first thing when I was smelling it. Like whilst you were speaking before you said that, I thought it had it's almost what's the word that Chris was, like a musty sort of smell.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like old books and.
Yeah, old books is a good one. Yeah. It's still got that sweetness, but it is really tampened down, isn't it?
Yeah. It's not a bad smell. It's not like
it's a different smell.
But, yeah.
Are you listening, Keith?
Yeah. But can I just point out that I've really been struggling this whole time we've been talking about this whiskey not to say it's not finished. I've got half left.
Oh.
I thought I would just do it in a way that isn't a joke and let everyone know that I was struggling. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, does that absolve you of making a terrible joke?
That's how I do all my bad jokes.
Yeah. I wouldn't say this normally, but
yeah. Also, sometimes when I'm too lazy to make the joke, I'll say, "Oh, there's probably a joke in there," and then lay out the fundamentals without the connecting words, just so that everyone knows.
People.
Everyone knows that I spotted the joke, but I can't bother to actually make the joke.
Don't think for a second that I didn't see that joke.
Yeah, but I didn't think for a second on how to tell it.
So on the palate, you should get sweet rye bread, honey, and wild berries, a touch of mixed pepper and dried herbs. The finish is long and warming with caramel and subtle pepperiness.
It's very bready.
Yeah. but sweetbread. Like, yeah, I could say like honey.
Almost cakey, to be fair.
I'm getting more like honey on bread, not toast.
Yeah, like
Like you get a honey sandwich.
Yeah.
Oh.
Not gonna say I've never done that, but
I don't like honey, so I haven't. But it's quite a woody smell. You know what it's like? Like if you just cut a piece of wood. Like you've got a plank and you just cut through it, and you can smell the sawdust.
Yeah.
Makes me think of that.
I would say the finish is still like quite like it has a lot of a baked goods kind of. It really does taste like a rye bread or.
Yeah, you could almost chew it.
Like.
It fools you. Oh, it fools me. I'm like,
Or maybe like, have you ever had like a superseded loaf?
Yeah.
It has that kind of.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Whatever.
There's and like an underlying spice pepperiness.
Yeah,
it's
the
rye.
pepperiness is. It's very nice.
It is. And different.
I wouldn't necessarily say it was as nice as the last one.
It's hard
different.
to judge. It is different.
But
I really like that last one though. But I'm quite a sucker for creamy whiskies.
And the issue for me with this one is that I'm not a big fan of bready flavored drinks. I didn't mind this, but like when beers are especially like bready.
Yeah, heavily malted.
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah,
not necessarily a huge fan, but I still like this. It's interesting.
So what have you recorded as comments as?
I would say that we both said that it had an old books.
Yeah.
On the nose, and that it tastes like a very sweet bread, maybe a honey sandwich.
A honey sandwich, yeah. I like that. And I think from his comments, that's a 3.5 again for me.
I would agree.
You would agree?
Yeah. So let's see what we said before. We both gave it a 3, so we're scoring higher today, I think, a little bit.
That's my first one that I've not agreed on.
I probably scored it down because it was bready, whereas this time I've been less harsh on that. Yeah.
Still within the 0.5, we're okay.
We're not wildly different.
Yeah, our credibility is not fully undermined yet.
Agreed.
Keep listening to us.
So, will we move on?
Yeah.
I say move on, but we're moving back to the Boutique Rye Company. They've got 2 in this box. This is the one that has the list, I think, on the bottle of weird jobs that belong to people who are involved, and it's for the Stoning Distillery, this is a Stoning aged 3 years batch 1. So it says on the card, Stoning in Western Jutland in Denmark's first whiskey distillery with a heavy focus on rye, their ethos is based on using what's abundant in the land around them, including their own locally sourced peat. This peat finds its way into not only their single malts but their ryes as well. They insist on their own traditional style floor malting, which is rare, distilling in small, direct-fired, onion-shaped stills. This limited release is a 3-year-old rye whiskey matured in casks that previously held rum from Belize. Rummy yummy. So I'm guessing it'll be quite sweet and maybe sort of dried fruitsy flavors from the rum, but still spicy.
There's some kind of like dried fruits on the nose.
Well, it says here, as I pour mine out, the nose is heavily rum-driven, raisin and molasses, the inside of a humidor. I don't know what a humidor is.
That's where you put cigars in.
Is it? Okay. Definitely showing my...
I think. Pretty sure.
Keep them dry.
It's literally like a humidity controlled room for cigars.
Still has that distinct rye notes to this.
Yeah.
On the nose.
It's a lot. When you said peat, there is some smoke right at the back, but not like a medicinal, more like a bonfire.
It's more rummy, I think. Like it does. I can smell
it is.
the
The rum dominates, but
yeah,
there is some smoke there right at the back. Maybe that's the inside of a humidor.
Maybe. Just I don't know if you would put cigars back in.
Half smoke it and then put it in. I'll have that later.
Yeah. So on the palate, you should be getting black tea, cigars, rye loaf, hazelnut, and plum, with a finish that is slightly nutty and chocolatey. On the finish, it says.
Yeah, I can get the tea. A bit nutty on the finish. This is the least spicy one so far.
This one's almost got a licorice to the spice.
Yeah, I could let you have that.
Maybe aniseed.
I'd go more licorice.
But you know what I mean? Like I guess that's that sweetness with the spice.
Yeah. But it's quite dark because there's that little bit of smoke in there as well, which I'm thinking why more licorice rather than aniseed.
Sense. I'm going to record that as a note.
What? What are you recording as a note?
Licorice flavors.
Yeah. I get tea.
I haven't got the tea, but I've still got some left to try.
I feel like there was right at the front, right at the start. I don't know if it's like the combination of the smoky, kind of earthy tones, maybe. You wouldn't know it was peated if you weren't told.
Yeah, maybe like a black, like just a black tea.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly not if you put any milk in it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But like a darker, like a strong tea.
It's quite interesting that.
Yeah, and it's not that far when we were on about like Cairo and it finish and only distillery and all that, and then just down the way in Denmark, got another one.
I would say across the way, isn't it? Finland to Denmark.
Yeah. Well, it depends where you're facing.
Looking at a map and the classical Britain.
Oh, you've not got one of them
projection.
East is up maps, haven't you?
There's a lot of mad new maps coming out. Turns out, if you actually make everything look the size it is, Britain's tiny.
Yeah, but if you make everything look as important as it is, England's huge.
It's not 300 years ago anymore.
Give it time.
After Brexit, no one will remember who England are.
Well, after Brexit, England will be about 300 years ago.
Yeah. But yeah. What score would you give that this time?
I think that's another 3.5. It's still not quite as good as that first one.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not willing to push it back up to 4. Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting.
It is, but
we both agree with our previous selves.
Oh, we are so good. It's almost like we gave everything a 3.5, so when we revisited, we could be like, blah, 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 blah. I think I'll give that 3.5.
Yeah, I suppose. I feel like I've had stuff where I gave it a 4 and it was a 3.5 before, I think. And no, it was a 4 both times, but I had a 3.5 this time that was a 3 before because I was.
Yeah, that Cairo, we both gave it a 3.5 this time and a 3 last time.
I think we were just probably being like, oh, we should give something a low score. But
yeah, maybe
we were also a little bit distracted because we were engaging in the stream, being good
and being the best commenters in it.
That's our job.
Best
Getting as many shout outs as we can from people.
Shout out
highlighted comments. Yeah, shout out to Chris.
Check out the Dram Team as always.
Yeah, if you aren't, and you're listening to this, then I feel like there's
You done something wrong.
yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you're like one of our family members just boosting our numbers, in which case thanks.
Yeah. How you doing?
Yeah.
So
I guess
if
it's time.
I was going to say, if all of us listeners could now like envisage the Mastermind theme tune in their head.
No, that's
Do 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 do
yeah.
do. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Hopefully the visuals will line up.
Yeah.
This is Whiskey Talk. So today, well, this month, hopefully one day we'll be on weekly. The whiskey's starting to get to me.
One day we'll be Jim Murray.
Yeah, this month's box obviously is a special box based around rye whiskey, which is something we don't really have much experience of on the channel or in general. I think you maybe said you had one that you'd.
Yeah, I had one that I bought for a Manhattan. I bought it to make Manhattans.
So I thought best thing for Whiskey Talk this week would be to just what is rye whiskey, and some people would say that there are two types: the American rye, which is similar to bourbon, but instead of corn, it's made with 51% rye grain, and then Canadian whiskey, which is often referred to and labelled as rye, although it may not actually contain any rye. So technically correct, the best kind of correct, but also wrong.
Interesting.
Yeah, and
so why did they call it rye then?
I think I'm guessing Canadian whiskey a long time ago was probably made with rye, and then they probably realised it was easier to make it with barley.
All right, sounds about right, yeah.
Because Canadian whiskey it's pretty similar to Irish whiskey.
Yeah.
For the most part. So there'll be some grain. I imagine maybe they used rye as the grain in their whiskey along with the barley, and then slowly they just realised corn and other things have a higher yield.
It's almost the inverse of Scotch then, isn't it? Because you can't have a Scottish rye whiskey because that'd just be called a grain whiskey because it's not. Yeah. If it's not made with malt, it's just a grain.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah. But this is how naming conventions go. Anyway, I think most of these would fall under the American rules of minimum 51%.
Yeah, they've actually got rye in them.
Maybe not the East London. I don't know what the percentage is on that.
I think 48. Close enough.
Not quite, but yeah, close enough. But anyway, rye whiskey historically was the main whiskey in America until Prohibition, and then Prohibition essentially killed the style. It killed most of it. It was really popular in the Northeast, and then Prohibition came, and it was impossible to sell, so most of the distilleries shut down during that time. But it slowly, started to creep back in like the 60s, I think, 70s. It started to be reproduced. But historically, rye would be the whiskey that was used in all the classic sort of cocktails. So your Manhattan, your whiskey sour, your old fashioned, they would all be rye whiskey. But obviously, bourbon took over after Prohibition, and now it's coming back a little bit. But thought it'd be a good point to mention that potentially some point soon we'll be going into some cocktail-based content. Once we're caught up on our backlog, we'll be making some cocktails, so that'll be good. And we'll be discussing it maybe even on camera. So
we'll be able to do a better job now because we've got a better appreciation for rye.
Yeah, so rye will probably be involved, bourbon, Irish whiskey, even single malts, although most of the cocktails don't really work so well with single malts because the flavours are so strong. Better with a blend. Anyway, yeah, bourbon overtook rye after Prohibition, but rye's been seeing a slow but steady revival lately, and it's going from strength to strength. For those who are interested, the distinction, well, in the differentiation, basically, other than obviously it's made, rye is generally a spicier, drier flavor in comparison to a bourbon, which is sweeter. Some would say it's more rounded than a rye. Rye's kind of heavy on the spice, not a lot of the flatter notes, if you want. Which is probably one of the reasons that bourbon took over as a cocktail. Once people started having it, it has a broader appeal when it's sweeter, less dry, which would have a wider audience. But I personally like dry drinks. So, like when there's tannins in the wine.
You do like your wine cask finishes.
Or just red wine in general is better than white wine, in my opinion, because it's drier.
Yeah,
but,
I don't drink wine because I'm male. That's a joke, by the way. Drink what you like.
Yeah, but as I say, each to their own, and as with all whiskey, if you like it, it's good. So
exactly.
I like the rye.
If you want to get a Macallan 60-year-old and mix it with Coke because that's how you like it, do it.
I mean, there's cheaper ways to do that, but
yeah. But it's your money.
Yeah.
And also, you revel in the feeling of some whiskey snob out there who has a heart attack when you do.
Yeah, it's funny. So, do you want to carry on with our whiskey tasting extravaganza? Moving on.
I shall. And as always, thank you for that education.
Yeah, no worries.
Learned a couple of things I didn't know there. That there's different types of rye, and that Canadian rye is not necessarily got rye in it.
Yeah.
It's like when you see Tesco single malt, and they're like, "Oh, only aged in oak for a minimum of 3 years." It's like those are legal minimums.
Yeah, aged 3 years in oak, single malt whiskey. So that's single malt whiskey. They need to say any of that.
You can't not do that.
Yeah. You've literally actually labelled yourself as being the worst you could possibly be as far as aging comes.
Yeah, like this car comes with both wheels and brakes.
Sounds like a good car.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember our trip to Speyside with my car, which maybe didn't come with both wheels and brakes. It had 3 brakes.
That's all you need. All we had to make sure was like if the one brake that was acting up really started acting, we just had to knock out one on the other side as well.
Yeah, balance it out.
Yeah, exactly. That's how you do driving, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like you ever see it in Formula 1 when they come in and like, yeah, my brakes are sticking on the left side, so then the mechanic just boots the brake on the other side. It's like, there you go.
Yeah, go faster.
On you go, mate. So this rye whiskey, slightly distracted by the idea of some mechanic just like booting.
Yeah, that's engineering for you.
Formula 1 car, and then just watching it just like plough into the end of the pit lane and explode. It's like, oh dear. Should use his brakes.
Turns out the automatic speed inhibitor doesn't work when there's no brakes. Oh
well. So this one is the Sonoma County Distilling Co. Cherrywood Rye.
Yeah.
Sonoma County, California, is well known for its world-class wine production, and Sonoma Distilling Co. are gaining that same notoriety for their spirits. Showcasing the creative flair of the distillery, this bottling is made from 80% rye grain, which is considered high by rye standards. The remainder of the mash bill, i.e. recipe, is split evenly with 10% wheat and 10% cherrywood smoked barley, which all adds up to produce a flavour profile like nothing you've ever tasted. And again, there's no notes for the nose.
Okay.
No noses.
It's very earthy again.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's that cherrywood.
Yeah, probably.
Even though it's only 10%. It's definitely kind of not a smoky, but like a smoked.
Yeah.
Smell.
Yeah, maybe like wet burnt wood, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like it's been burnt a while ago, and then
it's almost like what they did was they poured a liquid into some burnt wood. Yeah.
Yeah.
After I said it smells like wet burnt wood, I was like, oh, yeah, no.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it is quite sweet again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
If you dive in, I'll tell you what you should be getting. You
Okay.
should be getting dried figs, toasted almonds, brandied cherries, and new leather. Not old leather, new leather. And the finish is rich and woody with just a hint of wood smoke. Just a hint of Glenkeith in a new leather.
No, but I get that. I actually understand what they mean with that. And it's not bad this time.
That's a bit spicy than I expected.
But I can kind of get the leatheriness. It's that earthiness.
Yeah. Yeah, I get what you mean.
I don't know that I know what figs taste like, but I'm guessing probably like other dried fruits.
I've never had a fig. They never look that appetizing. It's kind of fruity to begin with, like dried fruity.
Yeah.
And then the leathery smells, leathery tastes come through.
I actually might have had figs in my porridge once, and now that I think about it, that flavour is there.
Trying to get the toasted almonds.
Well, almonds and cherries are like they have a very similar flavour. Like they have a similar chemical composition for flavour, I believe. So
I'm wondering if it's on the
cherry
like the
bakewells are actually flavoured with almond.
That's true, they are. It's very warming. That is very warming. But yeah, I get like dried fruits, but quite muted, not like raisins, not super sweet.
Yeah.
And then that leathery, which I think that leather is also the toasted almond kind of flavors because it's kind of a nutty, earthy flavor.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, it's rich, it's deep. It's a deep one.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm not getting much smoke out of it.
No, I wouldn't say smoke.
But yeah, like
I got it on the nose, like old smoke, but not in the flavor.
I would say it's like a rich, earthy flavors.
Yeah, rich is a good word for that.
And muted dry fruits.
Yeah.
What sort of score would you go for this time?
I think we've been beggared up by the first two, you know.
Scoring them too high or too low?
I really like that second one.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 3.5 was like, I quite liked. And so because I quite like this one, it's got to be a 3.5.
I'd maybe be willing to drop to a 3 on this, but probably it's like a 3.25, I think.
If I was going to drop one, it'd be the previous one.
I quite like that. I would just kept that at 3.5.
This one I liked more than the previous one.
Yeah, so 3.5. You don't think it's the fourth?
No, no, because it's not quite as good as that second one.
But in general, would you think it was?
If I'd have drunk that first, I'd have probably had that as a 4. But I don't think the second one was good enough to be a 4.5.
Yeah, this is the problem.
This is because we say like an average whiskey is 3.5, and then we're left with like no space.
Well, it turns out a lot of whiskies are. It turns out the problem is that an average whiskey is quite good, and a lot of whiskies are quite good.
And it's exacerbated by this box because this box is a special box where Chris spent more money on each bottle than he normally would. Yeah. So we're drinking like pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
The Dram Team's normally pretty good stuff, but this is a step up.
We don't really know the style either, so we're kind of shooting in the dark.
It's like you see with his early whiskey tastings from single malts, isn't it? They're all quite high.
Yeah.
But yes, I would give that a 3.5.
Yeah, that's what we gave them last time. I agreed.
Is that what you gave last time?
Yeah, both of us. 3.5.
We're pretty good at this.
Yeah.
Okay then.
Consistent in our being wrong.
Yeah, so those were his revisited ones, weren't they?
Yeah. And this is a podcast exclusive. Not that we've released the other scores anywhere else, but you know.
Yes, so this one we held off tasting on the stream just for you.
Well, because you only get 10 mils currently. Apparently, that might change.
Ooh, that'd be good.
Because I believe Chris has said that they currently have... They can't drop down to 5 because they currently have hundreds of boxes with a space for the 6th.
They're struggling to get these 10ml bottles, aren't they?
But they can't get any more 10ml bottles, so they're worrying that they won't. Like, they've only got a few more.
You ought to do like a returns thing where you could send your bottles back in.
I wonder how many people actually still have them. And plus, I don't want to facilitate. I'm willing to spend more money and get a bigger.
Yeah, I would. I'd be willing to spend more money on the Dram Team to get a 6 dram at 35ml.
Yeah, whatever it is. Yeah, 25.
Yeah, 25, 35.
If they want to give us,
if you want to go 35,
if you want to give us a country single, then I'll take it.
Yeah. Okay,
just fill the whole box.
Are you going to introduce us to the Dream Dram 6 dram?
Yeah.
Extravaganza.
Up here we go with the WhiskAYE 15-year-old. So it would be a special edition rye box. Without the Vermont-based champions of the rye grain WhiskAYE. We featured them they featured a couple of their ryes before, but never one as old as this. At 15 years, it's one of the oldest ryes we've ever seen. Made from predominantly Canadian rye, it's been finished in WhiskAYE's locally grown Vermont oak. This type of oak has a tighter grain and more rings than standard American oak, giving the whiskey a more intense, complex flavour. Hooray indeed.
Just to chip in, just looked up how much this is for a bottle.
Yeah.
$2.50, $2.45.
Yeah. So
it's expensive.
Yeah, probably paying in a bar the best part of 15 quid for a.
This is why you gotta join the Dram Team, folks.
That's like in a very reasonably priced bar.
Yeah.
Because we've seen. Well, how much was Freya in that bar in Elgin? It was like 15, 20 quid, wasn't it?
Something like that, yeah.
So.
Well, and the Booner's usually like 7 quid.
Yeah.
And that's like an £80 bottle.
Yeah, exactly.
So what should I be smelling?
Yes, on the nose, it's deep and rich, dominated by caramel, vanilla, and oak, with hints of allspice and burnt orange. Add allspice chips.
It is very vanilla-y, caramelly. It's smooth. It's deep. It's lovely. That's very nice.
I guess it does have like that allspice, nutmeggy, cinnamony.
Yeah, there's some spice lingering, but it's definitely caramel dominated, isn't it?
Yeah.
It smells smooth and creamy.
Quite a lot of like that vanilla, like the oakiness is definitely there, but I guess 15 years in a dense oak.
That'll do it. Yeah. All right, I'm going in. What should I be tasting?
On the palate, you should be getting warm, rich, and slightly creamy. Loads of butterscotch and baking spice with leather and a hint of tobacco. And then in the finish, it should be ultra long and rich, warm and inviting.
That is, yeah, I mean, that's still going now. It's smooth but spicy, which is a weird combination. But not quite like So the second one handles it by being really creamy and almost eliminating the spice. This lets the spice come through, but just delivers it really carefully.
That's quite interesting.
Mm.
I would say the finish is butterscotchy.
Yeah.
Like it's very creamy on the finish.
Yeah, it's got that little rise at the end in sweetness almost.
Yeah.
Oh. That is very nice.
I understand why this is... I mean, I understand why it's so expensive. It's 15 years old, but I also understand why they can manage to keep selling it at that price.
Yeah, this is very, very good. Very, very good. It's just, I don't know, it's just rich and smooth. And like I've had 3 tastings of it and I'm getting extra little bits every time. There's like spice in there, but it's not like overpowering. There's butterscotch at the end. There's a little bit of woodiness hiding underneath it all.
Yeah, it definitely does have that. Like, it's the oakiness, like.
Yeah. I'm guessing that's what they're saying by tobacco and leather.
It's like the resiny. It's like the smell of fresh cut oak.
That's one of the 10 mils that you regret because it's just gone.
Yeah. Well, you don't regret it. You're glad.
I regret it's ended.
There was more, yeah. Same.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I would that, Polly. I mean, I regret that it was only 10 mils.
There's only one 10 mil that I regret. And I'll actually possibly only drank 5 mils of it.
We've got 25 mils waiting next time you visit.
Yeah. In 2076 when COVID.
It'll just be when there's like COVID's killed enough people that you probably won't bump into anyone if you go outside anyway.
Yeah. So I would say that's just very creamy and rich all over.
Yeah, it's just deep and it's got loads of different flavors and it's balanced. It's really balanced. Yeah, I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, big fans. I'm going to give it a 4.5.
Yeah, straight up.
Obviously, we don't have a previous score for that, but it's not perfect. It's not, but of all of these, that's definitely the best. So I have to give it 1 more, and it's far enough ahead that it's a 4.5, not like was it just a 4? But it's probably not far enough ahead that I'm like that's a 5.
No. It's.
And I mean, there's also a part of me
which 5 is.
There's part of me that wants to factor in the price and say, it's unaffordable. So
it's worth the price, but if that was like 150 quid, it'd be gone.
But then I'm saying I'd probably give it a higher score because it would be more accessible and therefore.
Yeah. But can you imagine you'd never get it? It'd be less accessible because no one would ever let you buy it.
Oh yeah, because it's 15 years old, so it has to command a premium just based off of that, really.
Yeah, it's old for a rye. That one is, from what I know of rye.
Yeah, well, what I know of whiskey, that's quite old for a.
Yeah, fair.
It's not old, but it's old for a regular release, Like
Indeed.
A normal. Obviously, you get like 15s, 18s, 20s, 25s, and single.
That's when you get into the big price labels.
5 and 10 is usually what we're talking about.
Well, we've to say we're coming into this and we're like it'll probably be a cut down version because it's a revisit and we've failed
probably
somewhat.
Ran over, yeah.
Yep.
But it was a special edition, so I didn't really want to be sitting.
We didn't want to be.
We didn't want about times. So.
Rushing through it, that's for sure. But yes, hopefully we'll be able to bring you more reviews of more special editions.
Yep.
If Chris keeps releasing them, we'll keep tasting them for you because we'll take that sacrifice.
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to put myself out there for the greater good,
Yeah, it's a hard job, but we do it for you, our fans.
Yeah. That's what we do.
On that note, should we bid him farewell?
Yes, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time, 2 weeks. January box.
Yeah, the actual January box.
Yeah.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.